present. Okay, so welcome, Martin. This is Martin Kerres from Biodynamic Winery in Maremma. And this is Wines of Italy Blog. As usual, today is a Thursday. Usually we are on a Tuesday. And this is Katarina, as usual, with my blog, Grapevine Adventures. So I dropped a link to Biodynamic, so you can, for those of you who are curious, you can read his website while he's talking. And for those of you who have any questions, you can write them in the chat. And also Greg is here, who actually stopped by at I think it was the wine fair in London, no? In May or something. He stopped by to say hello to you.
Lovely.
Yeah, the Raw Fair. And for the rest, yes, Raw. For the rest, just I don't know. If you start by presenting yourself and how come you bought a winery in Italy, perhaps, and then you continue from there.
Thank you. First of all, hello to everyone. Ciao tutti. Welcome. Thank you, Katarina, for setting it up. And
You're welcome.
Yeah, for me, it's lovely to be on the new media throughout the world, and it is for me always it's a joy to talk about Veronica. So yes, you slow me down if it's too much enthusiasm with it, right, Katarina?
No, it's good. It's good. It's good.
You want to hear a little bit how you started, Katarina? Or?
Yes, I think about, your background, your winery, of course. And how
well, to make a long story short, I never planned in my life to have a winery. It just happened to me. I was looking for a vacation home, actually. Originally, I'm coming from Austria. So between November and March, we have very, very few sun hours, which makes me depressed, actually. So I was looking for a vacation home in the south with more sun. And after a few years looking around, for the first time, I stepped on Biodynamic land. And Biodynamic is in the south of Tuscany. It's on top of a hill. And you have a view down to the Maremma flatlands, to the Mediterranean Sea, and the island of Giglio and the island of Elba. And I was completely carried away by the beauty of the land, by the beauty of that view. And so I just, this was the Biodynamic about me. I think that was it, basically. The only problem was it only came with 80 hectares, 200 acres of land.
Oh, good, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I had no, when I bought the land, I had no idea what to do with it. The house where I'm sitting now, was a ruin, and I had no idea what to do. It just felt right. That was very important. Then a few years later, life changed. I stepped out of my career, and I moved here. I lived here for a year, and after living for a year, I decided that I would love to develop that land, and I started with the wine and canteen and guest rooms, and since 2009, that opened, and this is when we started with the winery. That's to make a long story short.
Okay, that sounds fun. Anyone who has any questions for Martin so far, or otherwise you just, I don't know, if you want to talk about the area as such for wine production, or if you want to talk about...
Yeah, it's fine.
I pretty much let you choose where you want to start. So.
Yeah, I'm happy to be guided by you, however you like. Maremma is in southern Tuscany. I think Maremma is a little bit difficult because no one knows what it stands for. Not even I know what it stands for. You have such diversity there, so it is really tough. And I'm not sure if it really helps me a lot to be in Maremma. For us, we are 500 meters high and in touch with the Mediterranean Sea. So we have a very unique terroir, also with the volcanic soil. And so I think for me, it's more about Biodynamic and then about Maremma. As I said, Maremma is at the moment, is a mishmash of lots of things, and no one knows exactly what it stands for, and I don't know it either. So it's tough.
There was a question from Jen here. She asks if you actually can see the sea from your property.
Is that yes?
Wine and tips.
Yes, we can. Do I see actually question 2, or is it only you see the questions, Katharina?
No, I asked her first because the other one is a bit longer about why did you opt for organic wines.
No, it's just good. No, yes, we can see the Mediterranean Sea, and today, because it was a little in the summer, it can be hazy, then sometimes see it less, but it is magic. Yes, we see all the way down to the Mediterranean Sea and the island of Giglio and the island of Elba. So the view is magnificent. But it is also for the wines. That's why we have always a breeze coming from the sea, which does a wonderful ventilation to our vineyards. And also it makes it in the winter a little more mild and in the summer a little more cool. So actually where I started to plant those vineyards, there has been never ever any vineyards, any agriculture, nothing.
Really? So, because I thought you just recycle or kind of replant.
No. This was a complete abandoned land, and there was no vines, nothing on there. It was macchia, basically. And we planted there those 10 hectares of vineyards in pure nature, in pure Mother Earth. And, you know, this was in 2009. And actually, of course, the adventure was that you have no idea how those vineyards, actually, those vines are going to work out. So, you know, finally, after we have planted, you have just those little plants, and then you can wait in years and see what comes out of it.
Yes.
So, yes, we have the view to the Mediterranean Sea, and the Mediterranean Sea is very important also for our microclimate and for our wines and the winemaking.
And then there was a question from Greg about why you opted for organic wines.
Why we do organic wines? Is that the question? Yes. Thank you for the lovely question. It's actually, I'm a doctor originally. I'm a medical doctor. So when it's about biologic organic wines, this is very important to me, because in this way I still feel as a doctor, never ever play with the health of other humans. So for me it was clear. You know, I lost already lots of patients when they came to my office, and they said they would like that I prescribe them some antibiotics, but I didn't prescribe them if they didn't have any indication. And that's the same with the wines. I believe that you know, all the organisms, if it's wines or humans, we should try to grow out of our own energy. And with this, organic and biologic farming is a given. And additionally, for example, we do not irrigate our vineyards. So there is no irrigation. The only water is the rain from heaven. So for me, it's very important. Yes. So for me, it's very important that we have as little intervention, as little inhuman intervention as possible. And so biologic organic farming is for me a given.
But you're not biodynamic. You're organic.
Well, the question is, what is biodynamic? You know.
Yeah, I don't know either, because I just read an article about it, and I didn't really understand what it was, except for kind of having more spiritual side of the things.
Well, if you ask, we are at full moon, not dancing around the vineyards naked. Also, we do not play Mozart with loudspeakers to our vineyards. Of course, the moon is very important to us. So when you cut in the vineyards, you know, so this way that we follow the, you know, I think the given biodynamic dynamics, like from the moon, is a given, yes. But I try to stay away from what I call gimmicks. And you know, get me right, we love music, we love singing. So if this happens in the vineyards, that's great. Never ever do something.
Yes, but it doesn't have any effect on the vines in itself, I think.
Yes.
Or at least I'm a bit skeptic to that. So
I mean, I share the skepticism. On the other hand, you know, it's great we have diversity. Everyone does what she or
I also think that everybody should do what they want to do. So I'm not against it in that sense.
And I know a winery where they play Mozart symphonies to the vineyards, and I think the owner doesn't know how to spell Mozart. So I think pure Mozart clouds is really in pain with this. So it needs to be authentic.
Okay.
You know, it needs to be authentic. So if we are singing in the vineyard while we are working, that's great. But everything.
But that's more for team spirit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yes, people in Maremma, they love to sing. There's a long choirs and singing, but that's not authentic, and it's not something, you know, which we impose on it.
No, that's true. That's true. I totally agree. So, any other questions, or should you continue talking a bit more about the winery, perhaps how you have
I'm so happy.
Background of your winery, because you also have a British winemaker, no?
I also have a what, Katharina? What did you mention?
We have Tim Manning, no, who is a British winemaker or enologist.
Yes. So the winemaker,
which is a bit different than.
Yes, I think Tim originally is from the UK. That's right. I think in his heart, actually, he's from Tuscany. So he has lived his prior life in Tuscany.
Yes.
What is interesting for me about Tim is that he has worked in Oregon, you know, with Pinot Noir many years. He has worked and studied in New Zealand, and since about 15 years, he's living in Tuscany. And what I like is that he's very much in the tradition, in Tuscany traditions, but he also has the wide view what's happening around the world. And this, I think, it's a very good combination, and we complement each other here very well. And so it's on one hand side to be rooted where we are, but it's very important also that we're open to what's happening in the world. Yes.
No, I agree, because I actually thought because I don't know, I perhaps should tell you that people hear that I tasted the wines at the lunch, that you perhaps also read the article on my blog, which was very much shared. And I also got this impression that that you had this mix between traditional but still a very open mind when you taste the wines. And for those of you who still hasn't tasted Valdonica's wines, you should do so, because I think you can also feel it in the characteristics of the wines, that you feel something, a mix of Tuscany, but also something outside Tuscany. And I think that's the specific or the particular thing that is Valdonica wines, perhaps.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's for Biodynamic Winery, and that's the vision. This also, you know, for me personally important, always to be open what's happening in the world, but always also be rooted in who we are and where we are. And I think the vision, and for me, what is so beautiful on that land is that because we have this different soil and those microclimates, that we can grow so different identities in the wines, you know, that if it's the Sangiovese, or we have the Vermentino, you know, those two Vermentinos and the Giglio, you know, that we can, even with the same grapes, like we make two Vermentinos, and, you know, people, they don't believe me sometimes that it's from the same grape. And that's what I love, is that Earth here, you know, that Mother Earth provides us with such a diversity, and we love to flourish this diversity. So, for example, for the Sangiovese, we have planted 9 different clones of Sangiovese. So it's 9 different types of Sangiovese, 9 different clones of Sangiovese. You know, that's, I think, the diversity is very important for us. And as we all know, like with apples, you know, we have like 3-4 apples around the world now, which is going to, we are losing the other types of apples. And so for me, that was very important that we have the diversity. So we have 9 different clones of Sangiovese, 2 different clones of Vermentino, and 2 different clones of Giglio. For those who are not so familiar with Giglio is the mother, respectively the father grape of Sangiovese. So the Sangiovese grape actually originates out of this Giglio, and it's one of the forgotten grapes, and we have replanted it, and that's the Giglio. Yes, so diversity is key, and to actually develop the wines with the identity, with the the terroir is for us a must.
Yes, so they're very curious about hearing about your wines, more specifically what you produce, the different bottles you make from these native or indigenous grapes.
Oh, that's so lovely. It's so nice to talk about the wine. So yes, so we planted Vermentino, so which is all our wines, which are our autochtone wine grapes. And from the Vermentino, we make two whites. We make the Martino and the Ballarino. I should have brought the bottles. I just have one bottle here because I drink them now. And we make one Vermentino, which is less complex, and one which is more complex, which is the Ballarino. And like the more complex one, the Ballarino, we love, that we do part of it. We ferment in big buckets. And there is a lot of there's the whole grape also in there, and also the wood of the grape, and we mix it with the moss 2-3 times a day, so that we really, elevate the identity of this wonderful grape. And this also then we put into a tonneau, and we keep it there for about a year. And then afterwards we balance it a little bit with some Vermentino we only make in the steel. So for us, this is the maturation on the skin, all spontaneous fermentation meaning from the yeast which we have on the land. This is typical for us in Valdonica. We love to do that, and with the more complex Vermentino, it's more with the wood, and then the less complex one is the Mercino. We do it basically in stainless steel. And then we have 4 white wines, and the focus is on one hand side on the Sangiovese. And here we have a pure Sangiovese. That's what I'm drinking now. So this is our Saraccio. Saraccio is 100% Sangiovese. And what we do with this 18 months in barrique. And we have some also Sangiovese, which is a little bit less complex than the Saraccio, which is then our Arnaio. It's a cuvée. We also have a little bit of Gigliogiolo in there, which makes it very friendly, very easy, and it's lovely to drink with pasta and some wine for everyone. It's a friendly wine, but it's not superficial. So that's the Arnaio. Then I introduce the Saraccio to you, and then we have the same thing, pure Sangiovese we have as a reserve wine. If we do have the grapes, we produce a reserve wine, which means the reserve wine is 6 months longer in barrique than this one. This is 18 months, and the reserve wine is then 24 months. And then to finish up on the wines, the real joy was the Gigliogiolo, because we planted this Gigliogiolo originally only to blend it with the Sangiovese. Because normally it's such a rustic wine, it doesn't really have normally a lot of. And then we found 2 barrels in tonneau, and the wine was just that the Gigliogiolo was doing splendid. And we said then, we just leave it in those barrels. And then we printed the labels, and we thought leave it in there for 24 months, like our reserve wine. And then after the 24 months, we thought, no, we still leave it in there. And so this Gigliogiolo, which is from Harvest 2012, we kept 42 months. 42 months, we kept it in the 42 months. And we just filled it in this February or March, and we bottled it. And the wine, and I have only 2 barrels, so it's we have 500 bottles. They're all numbered also. But the Gigliogiolo is amazing because it has such a beautiful, smooth structure, a balance, and elegance. It's a gift of heaven. And I never ever had an idea that out of this Gigliogiolo such a lovely wine could happen. And that's also a big hit. People love it. And it's something very.
I think I tried it at Vinitaly. I think you had a bottle.
Yes, there we had it for the first time.
I was nagging you that I wanted to taste it. So.
Yes, so you need to come back. You need to come back. Yes.
But it was very good. I like it a lot. I like chili.
Did you? Yes, did you?
Yes, I like it a lot. So guys, do you have any questions for Martin about this, the wines? Then you can ask them now, or if you want to say... yes, because Greg also tasted your wines at the Raw Fair.
Yes, I remember that well. It was such a lovely tasting. It was in London, and it was at Raw. And you know, we are part of Raw. Raw is this this kind of you know, it's the artisans of wine. You know, gathering there. We're all biologic organic, and a lot of them actually garage wine producers, and we match all their criteria. And so we like to go there. It's a lot of innovation there, you know, and we are probably the most traditional ones at this Raw, which is also very much welcomed by many people. Yes, so yes, so that was Raw.
No, I saw the photos. They were very interesting.
London, and we also go to Berlin to Raw.
Okay. So he asked, Chris is asking if you also made wine before as a hobby, or before you got into the business, or if you just started after you bought the land.
Actually, never ever. And I never ever made wine, and I wish I would, with an uncle, grandfather, father, whatever. But no, it's not there. So I had no idea, and it was also here, to be honest, out here in the year 2006, I started with a team from Alto Adige, from the north of Italy, and I had no idea about the winemaking, and I thought this is a great team, but I had no idea about them. And actually, there were a bunch of crooks that did cost me a lot of money and a lot of energy, and so I had a very tough start. And after that, I thought I stopped the whole. You know, there are better ways to burn money, and. It was then in the village that people said, wow, this is so important to us, and this is so great what you do, and this is what you need. And this was then the time where, you know, like Pier Paolo, who is now running the winery, who came and we met, and then also Tim. And so I started over in 2008. And then with Tim, you know, with the enologist, with Pier Paolo, who knows the region, and the three of us together, then we shaped what is Valdonica today. And I think what is essential is that, you know, I never overrule. So it's always a team decision. And believe me, we have lots of discussions, and they can be intense. But with this, you know, I think we always find a good common solution. And so it was very intense to learn, to listen, to ask, to reflect, to make that happen was a very intense process to me. So I just can say, for being a doctor was helpful for all this biologic organic farming, you know, because I mean, for me, a vine is a human organism. So I mean, that helped me a lot. So it was a relative jump into the cold water, which was tough and difficult, but most of the real big decisions in our life, they are hard decisions. They are not true decisions. So if I would have tried to decide intellectually to do the wine thing, I would never ever done it. But I just loved the land. I loved the people here, and so I loved the nature. And to start here the wine, you know, was more a child naivety to do it, and then this conscious, you know, decision. And I think that was good, because in conscious I would not have done it. And of course, then out of the naivety comes, you know the will to pull through. And there were many sleepless nights, and there are sleepless nights. It's tough sometimes.
Well, you can have that also, even if you don't have a winery. So
no, it's just that many people, you know, they watch on TV. You see the winery movies, and believe me, those movies are third, fourth generation, never the first generation. So the sleepless nights are more with the first generation than with the following generation.
But yeah, you've done well in such a short time. I mean, it's not that many years. So
yeah, it's
10 years.
Well, actually, it's the 2012 is our fifth harvest, and it's beautiful. It's a team effort, and it's also, I worked before in the States, in the United States. I worked in Germany and Switzerland, all over. But here it was very difficult to understand the people and how, their values. And so that was very difficult at the beginning, because I always worked in a team with flat hierarchy. But here at the beginning, people ask you, tell me what to do, and I do it. And my normal then response is, well, if this would be your place, what would you do? And at the beginning, they all thought this is, leadership weakness. And it took a couple of years, and like 2 or 3 years ago, it started really to work, and everyone understood they want you, and we as a team make it happen. So what we have achieved is a true team success, and it's please come visit the people. They're marvelous, wonderful people. Yes. No,
I'm definitely going to visit in the next few months.
Lovely.
When we'll have to decide when you're there, and then here's Greg. I think he wants to ask you some questions.
Hey.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Are you in London?
I'm in England. I'm in Devon. I'm in the southwest, on the nice. I should say the nice coastline where everybody goes to holiday. That's where I live. So yeah. So it always makes me good when I'm coming home. At least you're going to have nice scenery and everything like that.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So, it's good just picking up on your last conversation about how you involve everybody and value everybody's input as a team, because, I've worked also at vineyard level, and that doesn't always, happen. So it's quite, not necessarily rare, but you don't find it often. But the best places, the best wine producers I've worked with have that approach, because they value the person who is maybe works part-time as much as, the winemaker. They everybody has something to bring to the project.
Yes. I think this was actually always my approach. And I think, when there are 3, 4, 5 people working together, it's not 300 or 500%, but it is 600, 700, 800,000% of energy. So it's a human thing. If we work together on the same level, if we listen to each other, if we are open for resonance, we just grow. It's lovely.
And also everybody has a share then, and they have a vested interest in the business, don't they? So, because they feel part of it.
Yeah, it's here, and especially here, in Maremma, where we are. I mean, everyone is with the heart. They're behind it, and it is actually many people sense it also, and it is also for me. You could say we're a family. We really care about each other, and we care about what we do, and that's the beauty about the people here. Especially also, this is an area which is relatively untouched. There's not, the economy is down, it's overaged, and the young people tend to go just into the city. And everyone who actually works at Biodynamic understands that this is also a lovely chance for the region. And, we have now, if it's the priest coming with the children, so the whole village and the whole region is, part of Biodynamic, and Biodynamic is part of the whole region. And for me, this is very important that this is an integrated, business, what we do. And I am very grateful for that I can live here in this region, and that the people around here, that I can grow in their values is for me lovely. So it's a wonderful taking and giving.
That's good. That's good. And I picked up also what you were saying about going back to the Vermentino, because I was going to make a point on the actual text questions, but essentially that Vermentino of yours, the one that with the extended lees contact, was just amazing, and probably one of the wines that really stood out for me, and probably one of the best Vermentino styles of that style that I've ever tried. as you know, when I got to your stand at the Royal Fair, I was like, wow, you know. So yeah, they definitely stood out for me, and certainly, I mean, all of them. I mean, I would say I'm 50-50 white and red kind of person, but to have one stand where I enjoy all the wines is quite rare. You know, you normally have one or two favorites and then maybe some that are less so, but yours were all very consistent, but the quality was very high.
Yeah.
No, that's true. The quality is high in all wines. I think there is no wine which is very much less than the others.
Well, I got the impression you from what you've been saying already, but from previously talking to the ethos and the values within the winemaking decisions and the way you work in the vineyard is very high. So you can tell that, because in the best product, you can only make the best wine with the best grapes. So winemaking starts in the vineyard, and everything else follows.
Yeah, it's so beautiful what you say, and that's why it's also lovely now to be here with you, with all of you actually. As we know, we are growing in resonance. It's very important, and we are growing in resonance. This is not just in a winery. This is as human beings.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, it's wonderful here, this resonance, and I will share it, of course, with all our team. And I'm so much like what you say in the vineyards, and sometimes some people tend to forget that actually the foundation of any wine is in the vineyard. Yeah. And and that's what we do for our guests. We have this little hotel there too, and for our guests we do about once a week, and I host a dinner, and I'm happy then to share Biodynamic and our wines. And we always started on the terrace, looking onto the vineyard, and then I tell them about the vineyards, and everyone understands that this is the foundation. And when we talk about vineyards, that we are working 250 days in the vineyards actually, before actually it comes to the wine making. And they're wonderful, like Carla, in her early 60s. She and Karma, and they do the work with such a spiritual energy, which is incredible, because it's real tough work. In January it's very, very cold. Now it's very hot. They start at 6 o'clock in the morning and it goes on till lunchtime. So it's really tough work, and the joy and the positive spirit and that energy in this hard work is just wonderful. And I think I need a little more time. I mean, I love to work in the vineyards, but I need to grow as a human more, so that I can be more like Carla or Karma in the vineyards. That needs some wisdom. I'm on the way, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, as they say, the next vintage always starts with pruning. So that is the beginning. That is the beginning of the following vintage. So, and I used to be a vineyard contractor for many years, and so I have done many times pruning in the winter. But I think when you work in a vineyard, you do respect the location, the soil. I think that's, for me, that has always attracted me to organic, and even not necessarily biodynamic, but I mean, I like a lot of the ethos with the biodynamic, but obviously the way Rudolf Steiner developed it, it wasn't really designed for winemaking, because you're meant to leave the ground fallow for a year, which you can't do that with vines. But so it's been adapted, and that goes back to your original conversation as what is biodynamic. But that's a big topic, and you could have a big conversation about that. But I think as I understand it from what you've told me, and as I understand your winemaking and vine growing, you have encompassed the best of low intervention winemaking and vine growing to make the wines you have made. That's as I see it. And I think the problem with intensive or conventional vine growing, producers rely too much on chemicals and man-made things to manage the vines and even the winemaking, and that's why they often have problems, either with vines themselves, actually in the vineyard, or problem with, say, stuck or sick fermentation. So, and I think the cleaner the grapes and the ground, the cleaner the wines, and they'll be much more expressive of the terroir.
Yes, I think it's wonderful what you say, and this is also, it's also for me personally a very big learning. Before, I was a medical doctor, and then I was in the hospital business, and there were times in my life where I thought I can control, and when it's about vineyards, you find out you can't control anything.
You can't
The
control
only thing is, and this is the big gift of of doing the work which we do, is that we can go with the nature and never ever against the nature, and never ever try to control nature. And that's also spiritually for me a wonderful learning, which I'm very grateful for. And it takes faith, and just to let go this control, or you can control. And so for me, this is also spiritually something wonderful. And I'm with, it's always also a trying, it's never perfect. And sometimes wrong hits and whatever, and never give up and try to do it better. It's never there. It's a process forever. Perhaps when I'm sitting on a cloud, sometimes up there, Peter can serve me some of the real perfect Sangiovese. So far, we just try.
Yeah, well, I think your Sangiovese and certainly expressive in the style you're making, and just as an organic, it's certainly one of the best styles I've had. And
well, I mean, it's also an expression of the area, no?
And even
Maremma is a bit different, not difficult.
And also even more local than that, because as well as I do, you can grow on, say, one side of the hill, it'll taste different from the other side of the hill, because it depends on the minerality, the soil composition, and then even the microclimate of that particular vineyard. So, the other thing I was going to say...
I'm just trying to come in with a question here from Chris. So when you talked about the dinners you organize for your guests and your visitors, so he wanted to know more about the pairing between, if you think about how you pair the food and wine at these dinners, or...
Oh, yes, we do that. So it has a certain flow. For me, it's first of all important that all our guests, that all of us, we're sitting along one table, so that it's about we get to know each other, and that it is also a connecting thing, and it is a soul connecting thing too. So that diversity actually connects, and it comes. We always start on the terrace, like I said, to point out what also, you said. The vineyards and the work in the vineyards, so that everyone understands also what is organic farming and what's the difference. And then there we start, like I love to start on the terrace with the Ballerino. This is the Vermentino you mentioned, because it's such by itself, it's such a wonderful wine. So this is where we start. And then we have the dinner always in the cantina. That means we're in the barricaia, where we have all the barriques and lovely set table. And then we have the Mersino, which is the less complex Vermentino. We have some antipasti for the pasta, which usually, and there we serve the Arnaio, which is the Sangiovese with a little bit of Ciliegiolo in there. This less complex red wine. Then with the meat, if you have cingare, like wild boar, or we have some other meat, we go with the Saraccio, which is the pure Sangiovese. And for dessert, we go sometimes with the Pajolo or with another Saraccio, which is the reserve one. So this is the flow of the wines. What I love about the Ballerino, what I found out a lot, this is this dense, complex Vermentino, which we talked about, goes very well with Asian food, with spiciness. So, if you have a curry, the Ballerino is just lovely with it. So it has also high attention in Japan, for example, because it keeps the character there. You cannot overshadow it with spices or whatever. And that's also for grand chefs something very interesting, cook with. So that's what is a little special about the Ballerino than with the food. I hope I did answer that question.
Yes, I think you answered it very, very detailed.
I thought all of your wines, I know people always say this, but your wines especially, they just come across as being perfect food wines. You know, I know you could have the white as an aperitif and everything, but when I first tried the Vermentino, I thought, wow, this would be amazing with like seafood and white meat. And you know, I was imagining what I could be enjoying with the wine. You know, that was, you know, it's kind of, it often happens to me, but with your wines, definitely.
Thank you.
I think when we had a launch in early spring, I think a lot of the people there at Villa Crota was agreed that, I think it was the Maraschino, no? That a lot of people like that really a lot because it's very, very drinkable, very.
Yes.
Very. I mean, even if it's a bit less aged wine than the others, it's still very complex.
Yes, I just actually I was in Austria, and there is the Gourmillot chef, you know, Gourmillot from this food guide, and he's the chef of the year 2016. So Constantin Filippo, and he tried our wines, and very nice. He has it in his restaurant. And about the Maraschino, he said, you know, this is such a pleasant light wine, and it is never superficial. And actually, that's what I like.
No, it's true.
Because it's, for me, that's beautiful to have something easy, not complex, but also not superficial. You know? And the Maraschino, I think, that was so lovely what he said about it, yes. Oh, that's the second white wine, less complex.
Okay, so you wanted to continue, Greg? You had another question.
Yeah, and I think that question's just gone out of my head. As you do. No, I was just enjoying listening to you two, and obviously listen to Martin. Was it? I'm guessing, obviously, Martin, your winemaker's decision for the extended lees contact for the wines to get more out of the wines, but without actually over vinifying them. You know, going for the slow approach with the you know, with the long maturation.
Yes, I think this long maturation, you know, for us it fits very well. It's always a question of the grapes, you know, whatever Mother Earth gives us, and I think our grapes have a very high intensity, and the reason for this is several points. We are relatively high, 500 meters, so it's about 1,000 feet, I guess, right? So it's relatively high up, and so we have also the grapes. We are harvesting relatively late, so we have a very dense grape, and we are not irrigating it. So that means they are less watery. And I think with this intense grape, this long maturation time actually goes well hand in hand. So for us, I think that's good. And of course, it supports and elevates the identity of the grape and the character. And so for us, that goes very well. Yes. So we like that. Yes. And this long maturation paired with a very strong skin content. You know, we open those whole grapes, you know, with the wood in there, and so. Yeah. So for us, that goes very well, I think. Yes, we like that's us. We like that.
Because I did know the color. You know, you had such good color on the whites. You know, and the flavor was just lasted. You know, the length of the wine was just amazing because it was just not intense, but very. It was concentrated, but it just had really good finesse, really good balance. And it just, you know, it was a really, really well-made wine. You know, I could try that. You know, it was obvious on the first taste. So.
Yes, thank you.
We're getting a lot of compliments here.
Yes,
it's just when you try natural wines or organic wines, there can be some imbalance. But when I see the balance is good, but also the consistency in the wines, that always points to good winemaking, and you know, you can't hide that in an organic wine. In conventional wines, there's a lot of tricks you can do in the winery, and you can make a lot of adjustments. But low intervention wines,
I think
you can't do
like one
that.
of the other producers said, I think a couple of weeks ago, that if you don't have good grapes, it's hard to do good wine. So
especially
it all starts in the vineyard, like you said before.
I mean, especially in an organic winery, if you don't have good grapes, you can't do anything. And so I think, yes. And for me, it's also, actually, you know, when I was a couple of years ago in this organic wine, that in Italy, there was its own hall they had. And when I heard them talking, I didn't feel comfortable there because for me, it's primary to make good wines. Good wines means, you know, they really express the locality, you know, of the place. And this is for me prior. And, you know, for me, actually, also as a doctor, to be biologic organic is something which is a given thing. You know, I think it's almost irresponsible not to do it this way. So I don't, also in the marketing, you know, I don't blur it out like we are organic and blah, blah, because I think this should be a given. I think, and the primary thing is we want to have a good wine. And if there's a good wine, which is also organic, splendid, you know, then we buy it. But to buy a wine because it's organic and it's not good, that's not good. You shouldn't do it. You should always get something that you like. Life is much too short to have things we don't like. So that's why the prior, you know, for us, the prior priority is clearly that we make good wines which express the identity of the land and of the place, of the people. And of course, secondary, yes, they are organic and biologic. And it is, especially also talking biologic organic, it makes me also always, you know, also as a doctor, it makes me often sick, actually, that, you know, you see also here, we have this EU thing here, you know. And you can have vineyards which are conventional, as we say, it's chemical treated. That means with herbicides and pesticides. And after 3 years, you're allowed to get to be organic and biologic. You know, you get this certificate. And for me, as a doctor, that's you know, this is an irresponsible play with the health of it, because it is not true. Because in the soil, there are still the herbicides and the pesticides in there. And it's a cheating on the consumer. So I was not happy to put that on because I don't feel part of this group. Our vineyards are planted in pure Mother Earth. There was never ever any chemicals or whatever in this earth. You know, it's pure Mother Earth, and that's why it's also, you know, I think I hope that, you know, we all get here, we grow, and organic becomes one day as a given. Hopefully.
I think that's very true, because I think legislation and labeling, as you know, is paramount. But in wine, you know, in any other industry, it's quite strict. But in wine, it's very loose, isn't it? Really, and people aren't. You know, the organic thing is such a broad scope. You know, just because a wine's organic doesn't mean to say it's fully organic. And as you've just pointed out, yes, they've just got registered organic and got the certification, but 3-4 years ago they could have been spraying pesticides and herbicides. So, you know, you've got to have I think there should be something like a separate entity where you have sort of like a graded thing, so you can actually distinguish how long they have been organic, and maybe if something has, you know, like as you say, bare Mother Earth that has never had any sort of chemical treatment, then that should almost be like a separate certification in itself, because it's a
yes. But then you also have the cases where there is one winemaker or wine grower has his vineyards organic, but then next to him there are other.
Oh yeah, no, that's the other thing, because obviously.
So I mean, how do you do that then? Because one wine grower told me, okay, I'm organic, but then, you know, you look at this other guy who is having the vineyard not far from mine, and he's like using all these pesticides and herbicides. I mean,
and also you get spray drift. I mean, because that was the main reason I stopped working in the vineyards, because I was just against chemical use, and yeah, just with drift. And you've got people that are spraying chemicals that aren't even qualified to do so, because they're, I don't know what it's like in Italy, but I know in the UK and I've worked in France and the same. You have people that are spraying chemicals because they've got grandfather rights, because they've always owned the land, and they could maybe use too much chemical, like over the recommended limits and things like that, and again spraying at the wrong times of the day or wrong conditions. So there is so many variables with it, and I totally agree with what you're saying, that the person in the next vineyard, that could be spraying, and that is going to have some effect on the edge, certainly the edge of your vineyard.
Yeah, still I love what you said about this grading system. I mean, we could come up today with a grading system which gives more clarity to consumer. You could say, I don't know, a 0 is planted in pure soil with like we have forests around.
Yeah.
So whatever farmers do somewhere, it's just protected, and then you can make grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, or grade 4, or 5.
Yeah.
In 5 grading, you could put it on, and then it is done. But I think so it would be doable. But it is that I think the industry is not only not ready for it, but they don't want to do it because it's a shock to the consumers. And
I think that, and I think commercialization. I think because there's so many big companies that go, we make organic wine. Yes, their grapes are organic, but when it gets to the actual winery, then everything changes. And you pointed out earlier that you can have an organic vineyard, but you also can have an organic winery where the wines are made. Because a lot of people don't understand that obviously a lot of things happen in the winemaking that could also involve chemical usage, which is still permitted because there's quite a broad scope for organic winemaking. But it depends on the integrity of the winemaker, I think, and the skill, really.
Yes, I'm completely with you, and that's why it's lovely, Katharina, you do this blog, because the more we talk about it, as more we spread it, and that.
Oh yes, I mean, it's also interesting to hear all the different realities.
Yes, and for me, it's just important, and that's why I love to have guests in our winery, and there's a trail through the vineyards. The vineyards, there are birds, there are insects, there are turtles. It's just this is all wildlife there, and then just go to the cellar. So it's all transparent. You can touch it. You can feel it. All people who leave Biodynamic, they're conscious about it. And that's, I think, what is the most important is, and this is a message here out there, is that we try to be conscious about what we eat, what we drink. And to be conscious is go look at the places where it's produced, talk to the people, and meet and touch. And with this, I think we become conscious. And in the consciousness, then, things, that's a little bit the mission.
True. Do you have any more questions? Any of the other Chris or Jen who are following? Because I think we got carried away here with.
Yeah, I'll keep quiet.
No, it's good. If you have more questions, Greg, just ask them. Do you want to add?
Yeah.
When can we visit?
I'm with Chris. I want to visit very soon.
Looking forward to.
So we all have to organize a kind of a organized trip.
To Biodynamic.
Yes.
Wonderful.
We ought to do the next live blab with everybody there, in the future.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yes, the life is almost better. Yes.
So anything you want to add about Biodynamic or about your wines?
I think when we look into what's the challenge right now is, I think with the wines we came out now, I feel we all feel good about it. They have their identity, they have their character, and it's also nice what we have in the cellar. And of course, we always will grow, and we can grow, and we're looking forward to grow. So I think that's now to meet those people where we share the values, and that they connect us with their customers, with their people who have a resonance to our product. So at the moment, the focus is to build up the distribution network. And this is also in the UK, we try to get into the market, which is tough. And the challenge to meet also distribution partners where we share the values, and where people who are conscious about, wines or food, that those distributors have access to those. So that's the focus, and all help is welcome, to get here the distribution set up wherever, if it's,
the standard question, where your wine is available in the US, because I think here is different. Chris, you're in Philadelphia, no? I think, and Jen, I don't remember where you are, if you're in California or Vancouver.
Here's a question: is your wine?
No, Virginia. Sorry.
Is this a question? Do you see it? I see a question: is your wine available in the US? Or is
in the US? Yes.
Yes, my wine is available in the US. Actually, it's in New York. Our distribution partner there at the moment is the Wine Collective, Pleven, and we are strongly working to get it also in California, into Virginia, and into many other states. So we're at the beginning of establishing our distribution network, and I'm traveling at the moment a lot, and so the wines are in New York, and they're in Scandinavia, they're in the Netherlands, they're in Germany, they're in Austria, they're in Italy, which is very important to me too. And we started to get it into Japan and into Hong Kong, but it's all the beginning, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yes. Okay, we'll spread the articles here, so I'm sure that people will. There's a lot of bloggers here who are a bit of importers too, I think. Some of them are not here today, but in general they
Beautiful.
They're listening to the blog.
Beautiful.
So, any other questions, Greg? Do you want to add anything?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. The only thing I was going to say, which kind of touches on what you when you spoke about your medical background, which I think is probably the perfect profession to be in if you're going to get into winemaking, because you understand the science part well, but also you have the human intervention, because you understand dealing with people, which I think that is really important when you're both a winemaker, but also when you're a wine or a vineyard owner, and especially when you're trying to market the wine. And as you do, by the sound of it, when you have your hosted meals, you can connect and transfer your enthusiasm, but also your knowledge to those people. But yeah, what I was going to touch on is what I got out of what you've said to me previously and tonight. You have a holistic approach to vine growing and winemaking, so it's very natural. So it's not just organic; it's a holistic kind of feel.
Yes, I love what you say. I feel very. It's the same for me in medicine. Of course. What is called Western medicine, has been established 300 years ago. In the 1800s, the first medicine happened in Europe. And I thought when I was a doctor that the Western medicine is the only thing, until I found out about Ayurveda medicine in India for 2,000 years, and in Chinese medicine.
That's
and
right.
I think the holistic approach is very, very important. To be always open to, and if it's about the appendicitis, of course an operation is great, but there are many other causes, and so the holistic approach is something which is, I think, it's a life thing. And for the vineyards, and I had patients where I was, when you have cancer and you come with some herbs and some doctors or something that will save your life. they make me very upset because this is also cheating on the other side, on this, what is so-called holistic side. So I think the honesty and just reflect what is out there and find the essence of it. That's something very exciting and very important. How we grow, and if this is on the wineries or if it's at human beings, I think that's the way of life.
Yeah, and I think also from what you've already said, and you make the wine from the grapes which are offered in the current vintage, and obviously the wines are going to be expressive year on year, so therefore they're going to be expressive of whatever happened that season, and that's what you're going to get in the bottle. Whereas a lot of heavily intensive farmed vineyards and especially the ones obviously using chemicals in the vineyard and in the winery, they're looking for consistency, making the same product. So they're, I hate to say it, but they're making almost like a Coca-Cola, and they're just creating the same thing all the time. That's the wine I don't like, and that's why I like different wines, but I like wines that are made with integrity, but also they're honest wines which are expressive of the terroir, but also touching a little bit on what you said, they also encompass the people that have made them. So the people that have worked in the vineyard, but also the people that have worked in the winery. It's all part of the wine, So.
Yes, I think that's that's really lovely how you say it, and I think everyone should do it how they want or so on. And obviously, I feel like you. It's about, and it's also tough sometimes. Like our reserve wine, we didn't have one reserve in 2010 and 11. We have a wonderful 9-12. We won't have one in 14, 13, 15. We will have. So it's with going with the nature means also that sometimes like the reserve wines we don't have it, because the grapes they didn't bring it, and so it comes also with logistics, and that's why it's great we talk about it, so that also people who are not actually in the vineyards or so on, that they understand that with.
So Chris will be leaving now, so I think he gave you, sorry that I'm interrupting, he gave you a lot of thank yous for the blog.
Thank you.
So he's leaving now because I think he has to go back to his work or something. But Jen is still here, so... we have opened, or Jen has, no, I haven't opened, sorry. Jen has opened a Facebook group for live streaming about wine. So anybody who wants to join, she's dropping the link here in the chat, and I think she can add you. Sorry for changing the topic here.
That's all right. And a message for Jen: just say if you're going to tag me, then add me about 6 or 8 hours before you do, because obviously I'm ahead of you. So that's why often I don't tweet your things, because it's already happened. So that was it. I just wanted to say that. But,
well, that's the same for me. That I I'm asleep when when she has her live streaming. Sorry, you wanted to say something else, Martin? I think I interrupted you there. I just wanted to.
No, I think that was just. I mean, that was. I think that was concluded, and like I said, it's wonderful to have here a medium where we just can share our vision and our ideas, our philosophy, our passion. It's lovely you do this, Katarina. Thank you. It's really good.
Thank you. Thank you for being a guest, because it's very nice when it's this kind of relaxed discussions about wine.
And also, I think it makes a difference hearing things directly from the producer, and I think your passion and you can get a sense of the wines better and the way it's made, and your company ethos better than say from typing, say, on Twitter or other social media platforms. I think that's the benefit of these.
Because you have a face to you see him here. He's talking live, so it feels like we're almost in Maremma.
That's it.
Well, I'm almost in Maremma. You're a bit more far away. No, so I think we can end it here. It's been a very nice.
Thank you.
Very, very nice Blab. Thank you, Martin, and for being my guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for having very nice questions as always. Thank you, Jen, and thanks to all the others who have been here. And also Wine and Tips. She does a bit of the wine blabs or wine live streaming. So for those of you who want to follow her, for the people who are also listening without being logged in here. So I will put it on YouTube and then in the next week, and then you can tweet it around or whatever you want to do. So thanks again, Martin and Chris, and have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye. See you in Monica.
Bye.
All of you. Take care. See you soon. Right. Ciao, ciao. Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.